Good morning and welcome to Surefire Saturdays. We have a fantastic recipe for you today. In front of me, I've got a venison neck roast. So this is the neck of a white-tailed deer. And it is full of flavor, it's a powerful muscle. My name is Chef Jonathan Collins. This is my son, Bailey.
How's it going, everybody? Hope your Saturday's going good so far, and it's about to get a lot better with this recipe. We got some great stuff packed in today.
So Dakota's just firing up the Coyote Sato grill. We're going to do this on the barbecue, and we're going to focus on a technique called braising. Now, most of you already know this technique, but we're going to go through the details on how to get the very best out of a cut of meat like this. Now, a lot of times, we did a poll earlier today, and this cut is sometimes not used. Maybe it goes to ground. So it ends up in sausage and things like that. But what I want to show you is that bone. So that bone is full of marrow. It's full of flavor. And when you braise this, what happens is all of that flavor melts out into your sauce, making a beautiful recipe. Now, to go with this, you see we've got some parsnips here, and we've got some potatoes. So that potato and parsnip together, parsnip is a little used root vegetable, but has a ton of flavor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get this started. I mean, I put these vegetables out and the venison neck, got it all, and my mouth was watering the entire time. I just want to get started today.
Okay, so I'm going to set this up. The very first thing we're going to start with is the bacon. So you could use pancetta, you could even skip this step. But what I really like about using bacon is it gives it really great flavor. Of course, pork fat goes with just about anything. Yeah. And this cut that we're going to be doing right now is a simple one. It's called lardon. Now, lardon is a French term, and literally all we're talking about is doing about quarter-inch slices. And the reason we do this is because we don't want that bacon to really disappear. Yeah. We want nice bite-sized pieces so that when we saute this up, it's nice and crispy, but it doesn't turn into bacon bits. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just slicing this. It's good to keep this. We kept this chilled.
Yeah, I kept it chilled right up until we started going live. The colder it is, the easier it's going to be to cut, and also the safer it's going to be. So where's the bacon's going into?
Bacon will be going into the cast iron. So if you want to grab that cast iron pot, we're using cast iron. The most important thing when you're braising is to make sure that it's covered. Now, when it is covered, what happens is any of the humidity stays inside, and what happens is with that humid environment, it allows it to break down without drying out. Now, you can imagine with whitetail. A white-tailed deer, you've got that antler there, so you can imagine that neck is under so much stress. Especially when these are harvested and killed, this white-tailed deer, its neck would have been the strongest in the year. You can see all of the incredible muscle. Hold that up so they can see that. Look at all that. There's actually beautiful marbling in there. It's really amazing. Very, very beautiful cut. Now, when I look at that roast, to me, that looks like something that I went and I picked up at my local butcher. And this is one of the most exciting things for me about Wild to Table is how incredible the quality of this meat is. Oh, yeah. It's exceptional. Now, what we have to do, we're going to do everything on this. So let's take this over. Let's get that open pan on the Coyote. Let's go out to the barbecue here for a second. And when we do, we were greeted this morning by this incredible sunrise. So what we did, step to one side there, buddy. So what we did is we got the Coyote Asado rolling. So we're just going to put that in the center. Now, you might ask me, like, why are you putting this on a smoker? I'm going to cook it covered. I'm going to braise. But what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to take it off and I'm going to get a slight smoke. So a little bit of smoke right at the end. It's going to crisp up the top. What you have to think about when you're looking at the neck of a whitetail deer is it reminds me a lot of, for example, like oxtail. Yeah. So oxtail, it's a big cut. It's coveted. Why? Because you have all those little linking pieces that are full of marrow, and that cartilage, when it breaks down, the sauce from the bottom of this,
the flavor, the gravy
is going to be incredible. So we're going to let that heat up. Let's go back inside. And what I'll do is, Bae, I'll get you to start to, as soon as this heats up, I'll get you to saute this up. Now this is a little bit more than a ½ pound of bacon. When we do saute it, we'll take some of that excess fat out.
Yeah.
So we don't want a ton of fat in the gravy. What happens when you have too much fat? This is really why it's important to ladle off the extra fat. Too much fat, it fills the palate. So it fills all of your taste buds, and so you want to take that out. We want that flavor, but we don't want that extra fat.
Especially with bacon fat. Bacon fat's a very powerful flavor, and if you have too much of it, it's almost like it overpowers the rest of your food.
Yeah, it sure does. So if you want to take that out, and I'll just give you this. Get that on, start to saute it. Now it's important that that cast iron be hot before we start. What'll happen is as soon as you put it in, when it's good and hot, it'll start to crisp up, start to brown, and most importantly, render that excess fat. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a flavor base. Now, this flavor base is not one that's going to be discarded. This flavor base will be one that we're going to use, and it's going to be served with this. So if you can imagine when we're done this, so it's a braised wild venison neck, and then to go along with it, that potato and parsnip puree, what we'll do is we'll have that parsnip and potato puree, we'll press a little bit in the center, and then it'll be like a boat. We put that beautiful flesh, we'll pull it off, and then what happens is we'll put that gravy on top. So, Dakota, welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
There's your coffees there. So, you know, Surefire Saturdays, we talked about it many times, is all about taking Saturday mornings back. When I was growing up, Saturday mornings were all about fishing and hunting shows.
I can remember watching fishing shows on Saturday
morning. So we just want to cook with you. You know, I don't know where you're getting up right now. We'd love to hear where you're from. We'd also like to hear if you have any questions. So please, we've got some folks monitoring the questions. If you have any questions about this recipe or about anything we've been doing, we've got some exciting trail cam footage to show you in a little bit, but we've got some prep to do.
What I'm interested about with this roast is just the shape of it to begin with, right?
Yeah, no, it's
like
shape.
The shape is very rectangular.
It is, and you can see that incredible muscle and all the different muscles and how they work together. I know everybody's been seeing these incredible, the footage of the bucks going at it. So I actually saw a video this week, and we should have cut to it, would have been great, but it was a whitetail having its way with this ram. So you think a ram is like serious, remember that video, see? You think a ram is the toughest thing, and this whitetail literally starts tossing it around. So that neck is so strong, but braising can break it down. And what it requires is a little bit of time. So the first thing that we're going to do to this, as soon as that bacon is ready, is we're going to color it. And the reason that's so important, so if you're taking notes this morning, one of the things you want to make sure when you're braising that you do is, yes, I could just put this in with all the flavor, but at every single step,
developing flavor.
We want to develop flavor. So what we'll do is we'll actually sear off all four sides, and what happens is that now this is a common misconception that it's sealing the meat. No,
it's not.
It doesn't seal the meat. That's completely false and untrue.
If you don't believe that, sear off a steak on your barbecue and then set it on a plate to rest. It's gonna leak out all kinds of juices. You didn't seal anything.
No, exactly. So the term is actually searing. It's definitely not sealing anything. So when you sear it, we're gonna do it with a little bit of butter, olive oil, and there'll be that bacon fat in there. And what will happen is that browning, that's flavor. And it'll develop some on the bottom of the pan, and then we've got some red wine and all of this beautiful flavor. Bailey, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on potato peeling. So if you want to get started now, Bae's going to start with the potatoes, and when he does, if you hear that in the background, that's a crazy cat that what's it, that Bengal cat? The only reason I agreed to this cat is because I figured when he goes, he's going to make a really nice rug because it's a fur-bearing cat. Sorry for all you cat lovers out there. But anyway, so yeah, if you want to peel that, and then one thing that's really important when you're doing potatoes is, you know that discoloration that happens when you're working with potatoes. They begin to oxidize, just like apples or pears. And so what you want to make sure to do is to have a pot that's about 3/4 filled with water, and start with cold water. Always with cold water, right? With potatoes.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to bring it, I'll put it up there for you, buddy. And then so it cooks faster, what we'll do with these two is we'll just slice them in half. So there's a paring knife there, so you can just literally nick it as you put it in. And this will help to speed things along. Again, just filling with some cold water. And you know, every step is an important step when you're cooking. So in this case, we are going to add some seasoning and some flavor. I'm going to get some fresh bay leaves out here.
I feel like all I've been doing is peeling potatoes for 2 weeks between Thanksgiving specials and our own holidays. It's been crazy.
I saw another, I'll give you a hand. I saw another one.
There we got some cool white tail footage to show you today, guys. We got a trail cam up on Dakota's new property as he drops the potato. And honestly, this buck is, for around here, he's a giant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a few bay leaves going in. So I'm going to put 3 bay leaves in. Now listen, these recipes, we're going to release them as soon as this broadcast is finished. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to come back. Obviously, this is about 3.5 hours of cooking time.
Yep.
So when we come back, you're going to be able to see us finish this dish because we want you to see where it begins and where it ends, and we don't want to have to rush through it in any way. I'm just pulling out some bay. If you want to get together those, just take a minute and get me those fresh herbs.
Yep.
That would be great. So again, the neck is ready to go. I'm going to check out, I'm going to go to the barbecue real quick, and I'm going to check on that bacon.
Okay. You can see as we're developing flavors here, just look at the colors that we have here in vegetables and this celery and carrots, and parsnips are a very unused vegetable. The flavor that comes out of parsnips is actually one of my favorites, and if you can mix it, if you don't like the full flavor of it, mixing it like we're going to do with these potatoes, you know, 4 to 1 or 5 to 1 to potatoes, gives you just that nice little kick of flavor that you need.
Now, the parsnips, you don't have to peel them, but we're going to peel them.
Yeah.
Especially new parsnips, they have this really beautiful kind of tender flesh. So the only thing about that is, so if I was just going to use these and saute them up and maybe serve them just like this and not as a puree, I would leave that skin on.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. But in this case, because we're going to be food milling it or using a ricer, do you want to get the ricer out? Now, one of the things I really recommend that you do for this as a side is that when you're doing the potato puree, don't use a blender. A blender will develop, a ricer is really inexpensive and it does a better job for texture. If you've ever whipped potatoes and they start to turn into...
Develop like a glue.
They do. And that's the glutens that are in there. So what you want to do is, or it's the starch rather, what you want to do is, oh, smell that? Instantaneously, the smell from the parsnips.
Yep. I actually had, let me see. Oh yeah, that's good, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, would you say the skin on a parsnip is tougher than a carrot, or is it
It's very similar. So very, very similar. Now this is going to be something, so this is not a real refined finish. What we want to do is basically chunks of parsnip, chunks of potato, because they're going to go into the food ricer. Or the other thing, grab the food mill. It's right behind you there. It's in that drawer.
Same drawer?
Yep, same drawer. I believe it is anyway. Got it? So if you don't have a ricer, maybe you've got a food mill. So these are both really effective ways to gently turn these into really, the texture is as important as the flavor. There you go.
Food mill.
Food mill. So what I'll do is literally, I'm just going to trim these, the top off. And you don't need to waste very much of this at all. What I've always done is taken the thickest side. That's parsnips in particular have very large tops. So literally take and just quarter this. And you see, I'm just going to make the sizes about the same size as the potato. I'm going to put them right in with the potatoes. It's going to help to flavor that. It'll also make it just perfectly tender so that when it comes time to put those together, I'll have perfect texture and perfect cooking. So if you're just joining us, this is a potato puree made with parsnips. We're going to use a little bit of brown butter. I love using brown butter for flavor. It's an easy way to get intense flavor. And we want bold flavors because what we're pairing it with is this beautiful venison neck. So let's talk a little bit about seasoning. I'm going to season this with salt and pepper. And I'm going to make sure to season it on all sides right now. When I take that out to the grill, what'll happen, do you mind seasoning? Because I'll keep turning it for you. What will happen is that, because it is so big, we want to make sure we get the seasoning down on all sides. And fresh ground is always best, especially with pepper, not so much with the salt, but definitely with the pepper. It's fresher, you're releasing that oil from those beautiful little berries. We're using a really nice sea salt, so whether you have a flake sea salt or a coarse sea salt, coarse of course for the grinder, but what you'll get is you'll just get such intense flavor. One more side there. The neck is really easy. Of course, we butcher all of our own meat. The neck is something that was really easy to get.
And what we did here, because we left it bone in, is we just used a bone saw and cut it at either end. Or you can actually slip a knife between the joint, cut that little bit of connective tissue out, and it literally just comes right out.
So that looks absolutely incredible. I'm loving that right now. How are you doing with the taters there, bud?
Good, we're getting there.
You know what, we're talking about whitetail. You know what, let's have a look at one of these beauties. Honestly, I think trail cameras are maybe the greatest invention for hunters in recent history, because it gives us a little bit of a picture of what's going on there when we're not there. And this particular whitetail that Dakota is going to bring up, this is a beauty. I think, you just you can never stop appreciating how beautiful they are, and here's a perfect example. So look at this big boy. Look at him. Isn't he gorgeous? Oh my gosh. That's a heifer. He's got the bones to be an absolutely gorgeous. Now, to some of you might be thinking, wow, this is trophy hunting. We're appreciating this. We see beautiful does, beautiful bucks. But one of the things that we always know is that when you harvest a more mature buck, that you're getting a buck that's lived a good life, passed on his genes and his DNA, and it's also, here we're in southwestern Ontario, and I'm telling you, the deer population, we've got so many hunters, and the deer population continues to grow. So it's a very exciting story, just like the wild turkey story here. The populations are strong, the populations are healthy, and let me tell you something, they are delicious. There's nothing quite like the satisfaction of harvesting and bringing home your own whitetail.
Just our resources here for the outdoor life. Just the other day we got in the mail, we got all of our information tags. So for every tag you buy each year, we get sent a tag that lets us know, that we write down how many deer we saw, did we take a deer, all the information and like that.
Yeah, it's the same for bear, for wolf, and for there's the surveys provide the Minister of, I guess it's Natural Resources, but it's also the federal government with some really good statistical information.
They're all the ones that decide how many tags we're allowed to have every year.
Yeah, exactly. So now I've got something you'll see us use quite often, and there's a reason for it. We always have carrot, celery, onion, and leek in our kitchen,
Yep.
and that's just because they are a perfect balance of flavor.
Well, the leek I love because you get that onion garlic flavor, but it's not too pungent, right? Like whereas like if you add too much onion, it can be very strong. Too much garlic, very strong. Leek is very mild.
Yep.
It's got both flavors.
It's
and
mellow.
and
It's very mellow.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do here, I want to teach, let's do a little bit of a close-up here, because this is a cut. Now mirepoix is two things. It's both carrot, celery, and onion. It's also a cut, so it's a knife cut. So you can do it easily at home. You see I've peeled and trimmed the carrot. And now I'm going to slice this in half so it's very manageable. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take and slice that in half. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to slice that in half again. And when I slice this up, I want bite-sized pieces. So I want something that's about this big. See that, Ben?
Yep.
Nice bite-sized pieces. The other thing is when we saute these up, they're not going to kind of disappear. They'll stay in good shape, and you'll see when we have our finished dish that this makes for a beautiful garnish. Because of course you have that bright orange, and it's really, really attractive. Those can go straight into the bowl there. So we're going to build this flavor base. You want to check on that bacon for me.
Yep.
Want to make sure that's good and sauteed up out there. So again, quartered, and then the slices. And roughly the same size slices. You want to make sure that you've got even slicing for even cooking.
We're gonna have smoked bacon, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that smells incredible. Yeah, so we put that in there uncovered. You can imagine this is something, so if you're making this at home, this is definitely something you can do a day or even 3 or 4 days in advance.
Yeah.
So if you've got a day where you maybe have some free time and you want to prepare it, say for a Saturday or Sunday meal, this is a great dish to be able to do it in advance.
And just on that note, I know a lot of people out there, they're trying to diet or maybe try to do stuff like that. And one of the major hard parts about that is time. You know, you never have time to make the right meal, so you always end up going to the freezer or going out. And one of the best things you can do is, like my dad just said, take a day, make some mirepoix. You know, you can make chili, pasta, any dish you want. And if you make those meals ahead of time, have them in the fridge, have them ready, that's a great way to kind of keep yourself on track.
So, Claude, let's have another close look here. So what I've got is with the ribs of celery, I'm going to take and I'm literally just slicing them in half. And then one of the things you'll notice about this cut is how familiar that looks like to the size of those carrots. So again, what I'm doing is I'm making uniform cuts. This is good for both cooking time. It's also good for serving. So when I'm serving this, I don't have a bunch of different sizes. It looks so incredible, those colors together. And the celery and the carrot and then the leek is just a perfect combination. So now let's teach the mirepoix cut here with the onion. It's a really easy cut. I'm going to take the tip and I'm going to take the root off and then literally just slice this in half. Smells so good.
Yeah, I remember the first time you this, I always did the thing where you lay it down, you go like this and you chop really fast all the way around, and it takes longer, and honestly it feels a little dangerous. And this kind of just made everything a little easier, a little faster.
So just peel. These are really fresh onions, which I love. They smell so good. The skin is very thin. We might have to do a couple of these. How long before that bacon's done? Did it ways out yet, or 5 minutes? Okay. So for this cut, all you do is quite simply take and judge the size of the onion. So this I can go by 4 and turn it sideways and then slice again. And you'll see I get those really, really nice size pieces that are very similar to what I've already cut. And it just makes for a great service size. So, carrot, celery, and onion. This flavor base is coming along nicely. Now, if you have the ability to get some fresh mushrooms, obviously fresh mushrooms would be awesome. But in this case, I've got some mushrooms that are store-bought. They're a white mushroom. You can use cremini, you can use portobello. And what I'm going to do, this is something I'm going to do separate. And that's because the mushrooms, they're a little more tender, if you will, than the other ingredients here. I'll put those in just after the carrot, celery, and onion are translucent, nicely reduced. I'll add these. Now, I love mushrooms, and for me, it's just logical. You know, the whitetail are out there. You know they're enjoying mushrooms at some point. You know, and it just makes sense to cook with ingredients and with things that, you know, the whitetail would love.
I actually never thought about that before. About you walking through the forest, all the mushrooms that are on the ground. I never put two and two together. The whitetail eating the mushrooms.
Oh yeah. So just literally quartering these. If you slice them, they're going to break up and they kind of go a little bit into a mush. But in this case, by quartering them, what I've got is I've got something that'll stand up to it.
And the cuts almost always match the meal, right? You have a heartier meal, you got heartier cuts, they stand up to each other.
Yeah,
Starting to smell good over here.
yeah. Yeah, so this combination of flavors is really powerful. So we got the mushrooms pretty much done here. We'll save a couple for garnish.
Yep.
So let's talk a bit about. So we've been doing a little bit of hunting, but both Dakota and I, we both have spent a lot of time moving.
Yeah, we both just moved. As we've said before, my dad, he moved to this farm here that we're at now, but I also just moved to a farm. So we've been doing all kinds of, I never thought how long it would take to cut myself, you know, a couple cords of wood so that I can keep my house warm.
You have a whole different reality.
A whole different reality right now. So we've been a little bit busy, but we've been trying to hunt as much as we can. And here in Ontario, the rut was actually late because of the season. I mean, we haven't even seen, it's December now. Here in Canada, we haven't even gotten snow yet. I'm sure parts of Canada have, but here in southwestern Ontario, we haven't gotten any snow.
It was December 1st yesterday, and I was cleaning up the grapevine out here yesterday, and I was wearing a t-shirt because it was hot out. That's what December 1st looked like here, and it was unbelievable.
So I mean, it's pushed the rut off, and believe it or not, we've actually still seen some rut activity running around here. Yep. So I mean, we have a couple friends who've still been using rut tactics running here, and they're working like time and time again. So we're hoping, I think we might go out there while we're waiting for this to cook, eh?
I think we're going to. This time of year, of course, if you're just a new hunter, this time of year, you can literally sit out the whole day.
Well, especially with these cold snaps. Like today, it's cold out, it's about -5. We got a cold snap today, so I think those deer will be up and moving, trying to stay warm, feeding a little bit, you know.
Yeah, we know they're feeding a little bit.
Yeah, we've seen them feeding a little bit, and like this cold snap is going to get them up and moving, trying to stay warm.
Yeah. So with this leek, the white part of the leek is the part that's edible. The green part you trim off, can be used to flavor stocks. And what I'm doing is I'm literally just quartering it lengthways. And then just like that lardon, just like the bacon, 4 to 5 millimeter or 1/4 inch pieces is all I need. And again, so the reason that we're doing all of this flavor base and cutting it in this way is so that we have uniform cuts, but also so that when we serve it, we've got that beautiful vegetable we work so hard to bring together, and we can serve it with that. Now, this meat, there's a couple ways that you can serve the venison. This venison neck roast can be served whole, and then you and your guests can literally just pull, it'll be a lot like pulled pork.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is it's going to separate, it's going to break down. You can serve it whole. It's kind of fun to, you know, kind of take pieces off that you want.
Well, you can imagine coming out to your table of guests with that giant cast iron pot with this venison neck sitting in there with everything surrounding it. It'd be beautiful.
Or what I like to do is kind of the same way I would treat oxtail. Is I'll braise it, and then I'll take the time, just use a fork, and I'll just kind of pull off that meat. And what happens is you're left with kind of a shredded meat that when you put that, so I'll take the mash and I'll press a little cavity in the center, and then fill it with some of that meat, and then top it with the gravy. Man, does it ever, it makes perfect fish.
Well, imagine this mash plus that pulled venison neck, and then all that flavor we started developing there, all the way from the bacon to the seared juices that are going to come off this neck to the vegetables to all that, all piled into that gravy topped on top. That's going to be pretty darn good.
So I've got some local garlic here. It's absolutely beautiful. That's a great thing about this time of year. So much of what you're enjoying is local. And rather than just taking the garlic and breaking up the cloves, I'm just going to take, and Code, just before you come over, just get a quick close-up here, buddy.
This came from our neighbors, didn't it?
Yeah.
Our new neighbors came over and they gave us some garlic, so that was pretty nice.
So I'm literally just going to take, and I'm just going to nick off the top. So have a look at that. How gorgeous is that? You can see those little what they call it's like the germ, or what would grow to be a new plant. And literally, I'm just going to take that. When the time comes, I'm going to put that in just like that. I'm going to put it in whole. All you have to do is just make sure that there's no dirt on it. And I'm just taking off any of that excess. And we'll just set that aside there, Dave. And that is looking just perfect. So our neck is seasoned. You'll notice here, let's get that on the stove. Now, Bailey's got that potato and parsnip puree. Cold water. Now, this is a really important step, Babe. Just bring it back for 1 second. What I'm going to do, I've got some salt here. I want to show you how much salt. So grab me a spoon there. And this is one really important thing. Whenever you're starting off something like potatoes, or you're blanching something, you're pre-cooking it, it's really important to season the water. When you season the water, and it's quite a bit of salt, what ends up happening is it seasons the whole thing. So instead of a layer of salt or putting it on top, you get it all the way deep inside. So I'm going to put a couple full tablespoons of this sea salt in.
Well, your guests, instead of having to sit there with the salt and go like this and cover the salad, just kind of have that stuff sitting on top, they take that first bite of their meal and it's already just infused with that flavor, and it just helps a lot.
So I'm going to put a sprig of thyme in there, and then I got to grab some parsley as well. So the fresh parsley, let me see, where'd our parsley go? Parsley? Parsley, there we go. So we got some fresh parsley. Now, parsley is something that always goes in a bouquet garnier, or in this case, it's just literally just a flavor base. And all you have to do, you can literally just pull off a stem or two, and then, Bae, that's literally, we're just going to put that in the water, just like that. So lots of flavor. That can go on the stove. Could you have a close-up of what that looks like, just for folks at home? So you can see what that looks like. That's going to flavor that water, and that's going to give us a beautiful, beautiful mash when the time comes. That'll go on. That'll go on. Now we'll bring it up to a boil, and then we'll reduce to simmer, and that'll take about 60 minutes tops. Just take a knife or a fork and just poke it when it's good and tender. When it comes out clean, it's done. You can cool it down. One thing I want to tell you that you want to make sure to do is make sure to mash it or put it through the food mill or the ricer when it's warm. It'll be a whole lot easier to do when it's warm than when it's cold. Dakota, you want to show that that other footage we've got? So check out this next video. This is, you'll notice, you'll have to pay attention. We'll play it a couple times. So you'll see there's a smaller buck being chased by a much bigger buck. We think it's a bigger buck. It could be a reindeer. I don't know. The rack on it is so huge, but it's really cool to see. So check out this footage. This is in the middle of the night. Look at that. See a little guy there? And he's booking it. He's going. He's being chased. And then watch this other one come out of the blue there. You'll see him come out. Top of the screen to the left. And there he is. And he's chasing him.
And he's so tall. That guy that comes out second, we're looking at this and we stood to where that thing is. You're talking like that thing's a foot above his head, that rack. It's awesome.
Well, you know, one of the things I wanted to say, so Dakota, Jeremy Starks, he's a biologist, correct? Yes. So Jeremy Starks, check out Jeremy Starks stuff. He's been broadcasting here on the Bowtech Network for some time. But we have learned so much from Jeremy because he's such an incredible expert. I can tell you one of the things, being out there watching and just watching the whole thing play out. How we doing there, buddy? You're all good? Watching the whole thing play out, you begin to feel a little bit like a biologist. You know what I mean?
Just okay. Science.
So how's that bacon doing?
It's good, yeah.
Check it out. Yeah. So you can see we've got a few simple ingredients. Yes, Cynthia?
Gregory Borges is watching.
Greg, how's it going, buddy?
He said it looks delicious. Lots of love to all you guys.
All right. Where's Greg? Greg, where are you watching us from? You down in Mexico, or where are you, buddy?
I'm guessing either Ottawa or Mexico City.
Yeah. So you can see with just a few simple ingredients. So again, a carrot, celery, an onion, and leek. That's like the outdoor chef. Yep. You always got to have it in your kitchen.
And the funny thing about all of those ingredients is that they're actually very easy to take like into the woods with you. Like if you're going to bear camp, moose camp, deer camp, wherever you're headed, these ingredients, they'll hold up in a cooler, they'll last you, they're not going to get beaten up.
And they don't have to be refrigerated. No. Even the celery, and I can tell you if it goes even like a little limp in that, don't worry about that.
Throw it in a sack.
It's not for a salad. When you're cooking it, as a matter of fact, some of the stuff that gets a little older, a little fatigued, it's better developed because, it's a little bit, one of the things we always want these pristine vegetables and fruits. But if you think about meat, proper meat is always dry aged, 28, 32, some people even longer than that. And what happens is the decay begins to set in. So natural things begin to happen, and it's the same thing with fruits and vegetables. So, for example, basil is a perfect example I love. So basil, if you're cooking with basil, not for fresh, but you'll notice basil sometimes goes a little bit black. Man,
it's fine.
It tastes delicious.
Well, think about for example, an avocado. An avocado, if you go to the grocery store, pick it up, and it's hard as a rock, you're clearly not going to buy that avocado because it's not ripe. It's the same thing. If vegetables there isn't such a thing as too fresh, but as they get older, they just develop more flavor in my mind.
And actually, even to that point, certain fruits and vegetables have actually been proven they start to turn bad. Like bananas is a great case. Some of the things that develop as they start to rot have actually been proven to help your body with sicknesses and stuff like that.
You know what? Everybody's been listening to this bloody cat all morning. You want to grab him and show you. So this is Zuma. You should hear him in the middle of the night. It's intense.
So he's a cross between a domestic cat and what do you call that?
Some kind of a Chinese water cat. So this is Zuma.
He's not too happy right now.
No.
And an Asian leopard.
And an Asian leopard.
And there you go.
So what I've got, that's the thing that won't shut up. So what I've got is I've got a bottle of wine. Now, braising is something that you almost always use some kind of an alcohol. So, Asen, can you do something about that cat, man? I'm going to literally...
I think he wants the food you're cooking.
Okay, so he's an audience member. So,
this is cheer toy. This is our cat's cheer toy.
Exactly.
Next level.
So what you want to do is you can easily switch the wine for beer. So if you're not a wine person at all, or let's say you're not a red wine person, swap it for white, swap it for beer. What you really want to do, and the point is that you want to take all of the development, everything that in this case, the vintner or the brewmaster would have done to develop flavor. When you're braising, you're going to concentrate that into that gravy that you make.
All that hard work they put in that to develop those flavors, all the alcohol is going to burn off, and all you're going to be left with is every single flavor that they put in there.
So Yukon Gold potato and parsnip puree is underway. We've got that going now. One of the things I'll tell you about now is we've got some beef stock. Now you can use chicken stock or beef stock or vegetable stock, anything. But rather than using milk, so you think about milk, milk is fine. We're going to use butter, but milk and the dairy, I really like using stock when we're doing a mash. So if you want to make the texture better, it's a great way. add the stock, another flavor level.
You know what I'd like to do this fall?
What's that?
Is make a venison stock. You know,
Oh yeah,
collect all the
absolutely.
bones afterwards and make a venison
Well, I've got
stock.
them frozen, so we should definitely do
We
that.
should do that, yeah.
One of the things now that I'm going to teach you is using the zest. Now, you've seen fresh preparations where we use a microplane. And that is great. It's in the drawer now. Bottom drawer right there, so over
Behind
here.
you.
So you can use a microplane, and what that does, that takes off just the zest. But for this and for braising, what I want you to do is I want you to take a peeler, and this is the microplane, which is great for you know, if you're going to put it on top of chicken or something like that. I want this intense flavor in that stock. So I'm going to take and I'm going to make a peel just like that. Babe. So take that up to the. Let's have a quick take that up to the camera there. And so this will stand up. It's something that can be fished out afterwards. But this, you smell that? That smells incredible. So just one more pass here, just so you can see how I do this. So I'm literally taking the peeler, and I'm just peeling that right off.
And you can just the smell, like honestly, I smelled that, my mouth's watering instantly. Just imagine that inside your food.
So that's going to be another flavor additive that we're going to put in. So can you check and let's see how that bacon is doing. Is it done? Bacon's done. Okay, bring it in if it is done, and we will we'll fish it out and keep going here. So if you're just joining us, wild venison neck roast. So the neck roast, this neck is something that, you know, a lot of times when you look at steaks, so if you look at a porterhouse, or you're looking at a strip loin, what are you looking at? You're looking for marbling. And so that marbling is an arrangement of fats. That's perfect, set it right on there. It's an arrangement of fats that are delicious. Going down screen, I'm back. Okay, so just grab me a bowl. Now, so this is an important step. Just bacon out a lot of the fat. About any of the bacon. So make sure to get every little piece of the bacon out so that none of it burns. And you take and just set that aside. And then it's time to put in the roast. Now the pan is hot, and what we'll do, grab the butter for me. So I'm gonna add butter. I'm gonna add butter because I want that little bit of extra flavor. So butter in, I'll just put about a tablespoon in. Start melting right away. There you go. And I've got about 1 tablespoon of butter, and I've got maybe 2 tablespoons of the fat. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take and I'm going to set this beautiful. So I want you to show you this one more time, so you can see that beautiful. I just started to talk to you about connective tissue, about marbling. This is something that this has in spades. So this is a premium cut of meat. So that's going in. I'm going to press that down firm. Now, babe, that can go back out. Okay. And what we'll do is we will sear off all 4 sides, and in doing that, we'll develop flavor in the bottom of that pan. Perfect. So, as this continues to cook, what we're going to do is we are going to plan to come back. Yep. And when we do, all of these different recipe elements we're going to bring together. Now, we had a very exciting week a couple weeks ago, our American Thanksgiving special, and we had a number of submissions. We thank you everybody who repeated that beautiful combination of. So we did a sourdough and pumpernickel stuffing. we did, help me out here, the
Bourbon.
pecan pie,
Yeah.
the wild turkey was beautiful.
Yeah.
We did, then we
Ruby
did that
pork, cranberry sauce.
cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce is on.
Someone redid that one, man, and that picture of that, they did an amazing job on
Amazing
that.
job.
And the pecan pie, that one
Oh, yeah.
pecan pie.
It was perfect.
It was really perfect. It almost looked better than most.
So what we did is we asked people to tag us, and we said we'd give away a pair of these Vortex binoculars.
Yep, so we got a pair of Vortex Crossfire binos, brand new, and these are 10 by 42.
Yep.
These are ones you use all the time.
I
Right?
have the Diamondback one.
The Diamondback.
Yeah.
So the Crossfire is something that, I never realized how critical it was to have a good pair of binos.
Binoculars are important.
They're important. They're so important. So we have one of these. If you want to grab my phone.
I got it right
You
here.
got my phone?
Yeah,
Okay.
right there.
So we have got a winner here, and his name, we'll be contacting him here shortly. Mr. Phil Colin, Kolen. He made an absolutely incredible turkey.
Yeah.
This turkey is so beautiful. I don't know if you can put that up there. That is incredible. Incredible, Phil. We love that turkey.
Yeah, the finish is great. You can tell that he had it covered. It looks so moist, and then he uncovered it at the end to get that beautiful look on the chicken skin, or the turkey skin, I mean.
There we go. Look at that. Well done, well done, well done. We love that. So Phil will be contacting you here shortly. Get your details and get you these awesome Crossfire binos. But thank you to everybody else who entered, who sent us pictures. We appreciate it.
It looked amazing, guys. Honestly, every single thing we got, you guys did an amazing job copying that recipe. I was honestly blown away. It was awesome.
So we've got our Coyote asado cooking away out there. We're going to come back to you in about 3 to 4 hours. And when we do, we're going to have the finish. Now, in order to see this, we want you to go over to the Outdoor Chef Facebook page. We'll be going live there, and to show you this for this incredible finish. Don't miss it. We'll show you how we finish the mash, what this neck looks like after it's been
It's
braised.
one of the most important things, where a lot of people don't fail, but they just aren't ever taught, is plating. Plating is really important because you can spend hours on a dish like this one, 3-4 hours, and then you go to plate it and you have no idea what to do. So that's why we're going to come back to you so we can help you with that plating aspect of things.
So I just want to talk you through this one more time just before we go. So remember, we started with a hot pan. We put the bacon in. Now that gives us that beautiful bacon fat. We're going to sear that roast on all 4 sides, full of color. Then this incredible flavor base is going to go in, as well as the wine. All of these things together, covered up tightly, braised for 3 to 3.5 hours. It'll be fall apart good. Now remember, what's left in the bottom of that pan, that's going to be our gravy. It's going to be no effort at all. As a matter of fact, the marrow, that connective tissue, is going to actually help to thicken the sauce. So as a thickener, marrow is used as a thickener. So it'll be a beautiful density. It'll be full flavored. The best part is this is a cheap recipe. Few simple vegetables.
And if you're wondering about quantities, wine, vegetables, if you're just joining us, we'll be releasing the recipe right after.
So you'll have the recipe, you'll have the video, you'll have the finish, how to plate it, and how to wrap it up. If you have any questions after watching this video, please put them in the comments section below. We'll be sure to answer them. If you have any questions, or hey, listen, if you'd like to see anything in the next few weeks, we're coming up to Christmas, it'd be great to be able to do something that you've had some trouble with, or a recipe that you'd love to see.
And we're going to be doing a Christmas special too, guys. So if you have any family recipes that you'd love to see us try, we're going to pick one of those, and we're going to do that here live on the Outdoor Chef, and we're going to get that one done. We got the Christmas coming up. Any recipes you guys want to see, let us know.
And listen, you're not going to want to miss next week, because next week is when we're going to do our favorite things. So the Outdoor Chef, we've got some great partners. We're going to go through our very favorite gear that we've used over the past 12 months. gear that has not let us down. But until then, I want to say thank you for watching.
Yep.
Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. And from all of us here at The Outdoor Chef, thank you for watching Surefire Saturdays. We'll see you next weekend, next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for Surefire Saturdays.
Keep hunting.
Keep hunting. Keep fishing.
Keep